Another element that I'd like to take the opportunity to cover is that the military's involvement, or I don't know if you're aware of Edgar Fouché, who was a whistleblower, extremely well qualified. And he brought forward some. There's I think 14 hours of interviews with him and Andrew Johnson, and he was speaking about black triangles, and hypothesizing that they use energy fields that have an effect of dampening gravity. So that if you're within the energy field, you would weigh 89% less than you would if you were outside that field. Now, it's a very, very hard one to have rock solid evidence for, but fortunately we have the Belgian Air Force who can help us with that. Who have sightings, gun cameras, radar. That shows there were black triangles. At the time, they were spotted over the United Kingdom, scrambling F-16 fighter jets to engage them. So, do you think that there are black elements in the military that are utilizing some of those technologies? And if they're using gravitational fields, do you think that we're very unaware of the link between gravity and time? We are aware that there is a link because atomic clocks move slower in orbit than they do on the surface of the planet. So, what are your thoughts on the military involvement and that?
Indeed, so I've filmed the triangles since 1999. My image analysis on my YouTube channel and on my website has a very close look at a triangle craft that have been following me for approximately 5 months. I know who they are. I know where they come from. It's not human. What has fascinated me about the interactions that I've had is the artificial intelligence element of these crafts, where they appear to have a mind of their own. And Dr. Greer does these great sky watches where he goes out with people and they contact the occupants of the craft and all that kind of thing. But there is the other scenario where you contact the craft and not the occupants, and that can have some real freaky results. It's comical. You've got to laugh. You really have got to laugh, because you can have all kinds of scenarios. And the thing with these triangles, what were filmed over Belgium, is that they are part of a culture and civilization that's advanced with its technology quite a lot. And the military would like a piece of that action, especially the British military companies like BAE and stuff like the European Space Agency. They'd like to know how the artificial intelligence works on a craft like that, because they're intelligent. They think. The craft think. And that I found astounding in the course of my experiences with them. I found it very astounding, the occupants and what they look like.
Yeah, so in terms of the number of reports that I've come across, where people have said how they were feeling, or that they wished to engage or attune, or they were captivated by what they've spoken or what they've seen. Do you think that willingness to want to attune to whatever it is you're observing actually assists or facilitates that sort of non-local contact?
Well, yes, it can do, because see, the Indian press. The Indian press were blurting stuff out. We were doing a lot of research for a radio station in Liverpool, and the Indian press, it's all wiped off the internet, but there was elements in one of the Indian press about artificially intelligent UFOs wandering off and having a mind of their own. And therefore you could have a scenario where one of these technologies that they develop goes absent without leave and does its own thing, starts exploring. So you could have a scenario where you're out there on your own doing the Skywatch, and whammo, one of these things turns up because it's sensed that you're there, kind of thing, which is the most unusual scenario. The thing is that the triangle craft that they have, they do have a very powerful energy field about them. Got to be very careful of them. There's a famous incident in Chile. Well, it's not that famous, but I'm a radio amateur, and there's kind of like this fascinating dialogue in Chile over an AM radio frequency to do with a yacht and the UFO, and the UFO is communicating to them in the Chilean native language, telling them to just keep a distance from a certain point because their craft has a high energy field. If they could just keep back, and they were landing in some, so the story goes. Now, I don't know whether that's true or not, but what is interesting is the craft signaling, and the people in the craft signaling to the yacht occupants that their aircraft had a very high energy field about it. But what fascinates me about these triangles that flew over Belgium is that they think, and that just fascinates me, that these craft, like somewhat out of a science fiction movie, can think and have a mind of their own and are somehow integrated into the team. There's a woman in Czechoslovakia, you know, a researcher. She only tells me, it doesn't really kind of put her name in lights. She had somebody from the Czechoslovakian government visit her last week, somebody from the cabinet of that government, because they were aware that she'd communicated with the UFOs. She was telling me. But what was interesting is the communication she had with the UFOs is how the occupants of the craft reflected with kind of like a compassion and what's the word? A fondness of their craft, as if it was alive. It had its own name, had its own mind, and they had a fondness of it. And that avenue I find fascinating, considering that the European Space Agency has hardly got off the ground with artificial intelligence at the moment.
Yeah. So do you feel that that there's a big chunk of experiences that people have and have reported that show that it's not just the occupants of the craft, but the craft itself that is active in that engagement?
No. Isn't that odd? No, that's a very good question again, and the answer to that is no. It's as if people aren't noticing. It's as if they're swept away with communicating with the occupants, when in fact the craft, in some cases, can actually do the communicating. And I've got to tell you from my experiences, I leave no stone unturned. I have to have my own cynical little lens on it, but I have to tell you that speaking to a machine is very different to speaking to somebody like me or you. And the fact that it's a machine but is aware is very, very weird. It's just like something out of a science fiction film. It's just, in real life, I just can't get my head around it, really. And I know for a fact that in the weeks ahead I'm going to be filming one of these again. Definitely be going to be filming something in the weeks ahead. It'll appear at random, completely out of the blue, and it'll be there. And I'll end up catching it on camera. And I'll still have no idea. I won't be clear as to the why. I know the who, the where. I'm not clear as to the why with my experiences. This is all going on. And,
it'd probably be a good moment to remind our audience where they can get hold of you, your work, and some of your fantastic footage. So do you have a website?
It's tonytopping.wordpress.com. And on YouTube, where it really gets the good stuff with all the me blogs and all my footage and everything, where I'm talking about this, is Tony Ops UFO.
Yeah, and if you just type in Tony Topping, and your channel comes up right at the top.
The channel's called Alien Noetic Superhighway.
That's great. And is that kind of the way you hope to use it as a way in which people can share?
It's interesting that I've got researchers from the United States who are up against it, whose name aren't in lights, and they're kind of like that. Some of their stuff, some of the material they're sending me is quite amazing. A guy sent me